So let's coming back to our topic for the today, SQL constraints. Okay, so the last class we just have an introduction, what we are going to say and what are the different types of constraints we are having. Okay, so repeating again, SQL constraints are the used to specify rules for data in a table. Okay, so what kind of data should be inserted into the table that will be defined or that will be decided by the SQL constraint. Like we discussed yesterday, date of birth. It should not be like from 18th century for the employees that are joining in this current year, right? So that is not a valid date. Then the age, let's say we are having an age column. Okay, age should not be greater than 100 years or greater than 200 years, right? So that kind of check we are having. Orders, there cannot be a duplicate orders for the same customer, okay, on the same day. Every time a new order is inserted or new order is placed, there should be a different order number, right? Then employee ID or customer ID, those columns cannot have the null value because there should be some identification number, some unique value every employee should have against him. Okay. So these are the some rules like we will define. Okay. Based on that, the data will be inserted into the table. If the data being inserted is not satisfying those criterias, okay, the SQL server will throw the error. Okay, saying this is a violation of your constraint. Okay, so constraints are used to limit the data type, or we can say the type of data that can go into the table. Okay, so these are useful while inserting the data. This will restrict the data before insertion itself. Okay, so if any data is not fulfilling the required criteria or it is not satisfying the constraint rule, okay, the data will not be inserted. Okay, so while inserting itself, it will throw the error and your data will not be inserted into the table. This is required for ensuring the accuracy and reliability of the data. Okay, so data should be accurate. Okay, it should be reliable, like based on two tables or three tables. We should have a accurate data. And if there is any violation between the constraint and the data action, the action is aborted, right? So the insert statement will be aborted. Okay, SQL Server will throw the error saying it is a violation of the constraint. Okay, we can have the constraint on a column level or table level. Column level constraint can apply to a column and table level constraint apply to the whole table. Okay, but this is like we will be applying the constraint column level only. Okay, because not every column will have the constraint in a table. Okay, so there is a possibility like some columns could be have null value, could have the null values. Okay, like let's say we are having, can say we are having a customer table like this, what we have seen yesterday, and we have the last name. Let's say any customer is not having last name. He's just using his first name everywhere in the documents as well. So there may be the chance the last name is like null there, right? So that can be possible. So some columns could have the null value. So every column in a table, it is not required to have the constraint on it. Okay, but the important columns where you wanted to have the accurate data, okay, there should not be any like there should not be any violation in the data. So those columns should have the constraint. Okay, these are the constraints that we talked yesterday. First one is a not null. So this constraint ensures that a column cannot have a null value, right? So this we have seen already while creating a table, right? If you are specifying the column definition as a not null, okay, then while inserting the data, okay, it will not allow you to insert the null value. It should have some value. It can be blank, but it cannot be null value. Okay, so null, this is a not null constraint. This will ensure a column cannot have a null value. It should not be like a valueless column. The second is a unique constraint. This will ensure that all the values in a column are different. Like that is the name it is defining unique. It ensures that all the values in a column are different, right? So it should have unique values within a column. Okay, we can create more than one unique key. So this is for a single table. Let's say we are having one table. So in one table, we can have more than one unique key column. Okay, more than one unique keys we can create. Okay, and it can accept only one null value. Why it is specified here? Okay, so unique in the unique column. Let's say we have defined a column email. Okay, let's say we have defined this column as unique. Okay, so in the email column, we cannot insert the duplicate emails. Okay, but that column can accept a single null value. Yeah, but if you're adding the another constraint not null on the same column, then it will not allow a single null as well. Okay, but if it is having only unique constraint, it can have single null value. Why we are not able to insert now? When this column is null, let's say this column is null we are having, right? So as many records we can insert into the table with null as a last name. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Let's say I have created a customer table. This last name column is null. So I can have 10 records with null values for the last name, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But email column, though it is a null, okay, we cannot insert 10 null values. Okay, because it is unique. So if you insert 10 null values, that is a duplicate null, right? So that is a duplicate for null. So that is the reason it is specified here. It can accept only one null value. If you try to insert another null, so that will be the duplicate for the null, first null value already inserted. Okay, so that's the reason it is specified like unique can accept only a single null value.
I
Okay,
don't get it. Can you give me like one example?
we will be seeing the examples. Okay. Then primary key we are having. Primary key is a combination of not null and unique. Okay, so what is combination of not null and unique here? Not null means it will not have a null value, right? It should not have any
Mm-hmm.
values. Even the single null also it cannot accept. And unique is it is all the records should be having unique values. So combination of not null and unique is a primary key, which means in the primary key, even we cannot have a single null value as well. Okay, we will see with example and you will understand. It will uniquely defines or it will uniquely identifies each row in a table. And there can be only one primary key created per table. Here, more than one unique key, here only one primary key. Why I'm showing you these two here? Because this is an important interview question where the interviewer asks what is the difference between unique key and primary key. Okay, so that is the reason I was just trying to compare these two here. Okay, then foreign key we are having, we'll talk about this foreign key separately. We have to create two tables for that. Check constraint we are having. Check will ensure that the values in a column satisfy a specific condition. So for the check, okay, as the name suggests, we will check the data for a specific condition. So we can give a condition on a column like this. Let's say I'm having salary, which is of integer data type, and this is the condition. Check salary is greater than 10,000. So the data will be inserted only if the salary is greater than 10,000. Okay. If we are giving the salary less than 9,000 in our insert statement, the data will not be inserted for that case. Okay. And the last one we are having default constraint. Default is used to set a default value for a specified column if no value is specified, which means let's say we are having this date of birth field here. Okay. And uh, while inserting the data, I'm not passing the date of birth. Okay, I'm not passing the column at all. So what will happen? Whatever the default value we have specified for the date of birth while defining this column, so that default value will be inserted if no value is specified in the insert statement. If there is a value in the insert statement, whatever it is provided, So that will be inserted. So default will only work if there is no value specified. Okay, so these are the some constraint we are having. We will talk about each of them one by one. Okay, I'm trying to create one table here with a four constraint. Okay, one, two, three, four, five, six, total six constraint we are having. So I'm trying to create a table with five constraint. Okay, we will talk about this foreign key later. So as of now, not null, unique, primary key, check, and default. So I'm trying to create a table with all these constraints in a single table. Okay, so this is the definition of a table where we are creating a table customers with all these columns. So here customer ID, okay, this is a primary key. So when we mention a primary key, it is not required to mention a not null as well. Why? Because primary key is already a not null column. So even though if we are not, if let's say I'm not having this primary key mentioned here, okay, and I'm having just like this. Okay, I'm having just like this. So what will be the constraint on this customer ID? Like whether it will accept null or not.
Yeah, it will accept the null.
It will accept the null. Right. So by default, this customer ID will be nullable column, right? So it will be having integer data type with null as a constraint on it, or we can say null as a definition on it. So whenever we insert any values, it can accept the null as well, right?
Null
If
as
no
well.
values are specified. Okay. But when we define this column as a primary key, okay, by default, it will be a not null because that is a definition of primary key. It is a
Not
combination
null and
of
unique
null and
key.
unique, right? So by default, even though
Mhm.
you are not specifying this as a null or not null, okay, it will be not null only. Okay, no matter. So for that way only, if whenever you creating any column as a primary key, no need to specify whether it is null or not null. Okay, so how we define a primary key column? Just mention the primary key after the data type in
Interior.
your definition. Okay, you just need to specify it is a primary key. Okay, for every constraint, we are defining the columns like that only, like defining the constraint like that only. In front of column, you need to give your constraint name. Okay, but there is a different syntax for all. For primary key, we are specifying this is a primary key. Okay, now first name. Let's say I just wanted to mention this first name as a not null. So what you do? You just mention not null, right? When you are mentioning null or you are not mentioning anything, that will be default null, right? But if you have to
Mhm.
mention this as a not null, you have to specify that it is a not null. So my first name column is a not null, which means I need to provide the value for not null while inserting the data. Okay, else it will throw the error. Okay. Then last name, it is nullable column because I have not specified it is not null, so it can accept the null values. Okay. Then email I have added. Email is a varchar 100 column, and I wanted this column to hold the unique values. Email should not be having any duplicate record here. Okay. But yeah, any one employee can have null values. That's why I just mentioned this as a unique. Now see the difference. While defining the primary key, we are specifying it is a primary and key. The keyword key is there. But for unique key, okay, it is not having a key keyword here. Okay, we just need to specify unique. Okay, then gender is again a not null. It should have some value. Okay, then salary. So it is an integer, and I'm saying like I'm adding a check constraint here. So while adding the check constraint, the definition says it will check the specific condition. Okay, so in check constraint, we have to give the condition here. Okay, now here salary integer check. Now what I need to check? I need to check column name is greater than or whatever the condition. Salary is greater than 10,000. Let's say I'm checking, I wanted to add the check condition for the gender. So what I will do? I will do here check, then in bracket gender. I wanted to have the valid values for gender, like either male, female, or unknown. So I can give the condition like mail. As this is a varchar, I have to give the conditions in a quotes only, right? The values in a quotes only. This is not a varchar, so I'm not mentioned the value in the quotes. This is integer, right? But this column is a varchar. So my gender should be in the quotes. Okay, I can have full values or small values as well, or just as an
But
abbreviation
if
as
you
well.
try to insert other than the female, male, unknown, it will not insert, right?
It will throw the error, correct?
Okay.
Okay, then this is the check constraint. Now let's say default. Now for the date of birth, I have added the default constraint here, and I have so how to add the default constraint? The default constraint can be added with default. Okay, then we have to give the value here for column name. So this is the syntax we are having to add the default constraint. Okay, so date of birth, this is the data type, it is null, and default, this is the value for date of birth. So this is how we can give the value. Let's say if I'm saying I want to add the email as a default. Okay, so what you can do is here we can add the default. What should be the value? Like let's say a just sample I'm giving. Okay, xyz.com for email. This is how we mention the default value. Okay, so one
So can
column
you
can have
use like
multiple
unique
constraints.
and default in one
Yeah,
column
one
also?
column can have multiple value, multiple constraints on it. Okay, it can have
Mhm.
multiple constraints on it.
Sir,
So yes,
no, what I would like to ask you, in date of birth, you put null as well, am I right?
yes.
Why? Even if
No,
you're
I
default.
yeah, I was the default I was added later on. So yeah, it can
Oh,
be okay. So it will not insert null. So if by default you are inserting null, then only it will insert the null. Okay, but if you are not specifying the column, we will see example while inserting the data. But if you are not specifying the value itself, then default value will be inserted. But in the value, if you have null as a value, then it will insert null only. Okay, we'll check that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you explain one more time what default does for the date of birth column?
Right. So now let's say I have to insert the data into the customer table. What we will have? We will have the insert statement, right? Insert into, we will specify the table,
Yeah.
then we will specify the columns. Okay. And then we will specify the values, right? So let's say in my insert statement, I don't have this date of birth column itself. So definitely like if I don't have the column in the column list, there should not be a value in the value list as well, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if we are not providing the value for date of birth column, what should ideally insert into the table? It should insert null value, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But as we have the default constraint, okay, when we are not specifying the value, we are not providing the value in the insert, it will insert the default value into the table, whatever the
Uh,
default value we have provided.
so that it's not null.
Yeah, it will not be a null.
Okay.
But
It will
when it's
provide
null,
the
let's
same
say
value that you write
specifying
down
the,
next to
yeah,
default.
then we are specifying here the DOB as a column, and for the DOB we are inserting the null, then it will go null into the table. Okay, if we are specifying any other values like 2020 2001 0101, now I am specifying this value. So I am giving the value here. So while giving the value, it will not insert the default value. It will insert whatever provided by the user, whatever provided by you.
Okay.
Okay, so default will only work if, okay, if no value is specified for that column.
Okay.
If there is value provided, it will insert the provided value. Okay, we will see all the examples for each of the constraint, how it works. Okay, so I'm creating this table with customer ID as a primary key, first name as a not null. Okay, last name as like null column, email is unique, then gender is having check constraint with not null as well. So we are having already two constraints on it, not null and check. Okay. Then salary we are having integer, which is check constant we are having for checking the salary greater than 10,000, and default we are having for the date of birth. Okay. 1990. Okay. For 1990. So let me create this table. Incorrect syntax for. Okay, this column is for. I think it should be in a code. Bracket. No. Which bracket? Skill bracket. Column name should be in the. Still, it is showing the error. I'm guessing the syntax. What should be the default? I do not have that. Let me check. What you did for this is correct only, right? Default for date of birth. It is missing.
Or maybe you need brackets for the value after default.
No, it should not have values. Let's check on this website. Only this not constants.
I believe when you have an integer, you don't need quotations around it.
What it was?
When you have integer, you don't need quotations around the number.
No, that is a date, right?
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay.
Should have this.
For default, we have to put
Okay,
a
so
null or
for
insert.
yeah, I mean yeah, for date it is not asking for column name. Even yeah, this for will be used only with alter. Okay. So when we are adding the constraint after creation of the table, so for in that time only we need to mention the column name. Okay, while creating the table, it is not required. That is what it is. Let's see. Okay, it is created now. Now where I could see all these constraints. Okay, so we have created the table. Now let me expand this table. Okay, so this is the customer table. So whether whatever the constraints I have created, okay, whether I could see those constraints. And like in our database or in any database, whenever a new object is created, it will have some name there. So whether these constraints also will have some name. Okay, so that can be seen here. Okay, so there is a folder called constraints. If you expand the table, so this is the table. If you expand, we are having columns as a first folder here.
Row.
In that we will be having the column names. Okay, now you can see in the column name it is showing pk and it is showing not null. Pk is for primary key and not null. Okay, so we could see that here. So all the columns will be here. Now keys, under the keys folder, you will have the primary key, unique key, and foreign key. So all the three types of keys will be available under the keys folder. Okay, primary key, unique key, and foreign key. All the three constraints you will see here. Now on our table, we have created two constraints, primary and unique. So that two keys should be available here. And you will see it is having some unique identification for each of these. Okay, so this is a primary key. Okay, PK on customers table, and this is some unique value assigned by the SQL server to that primary key. Same way for unique key as well, there is some unique value assigned for that identity value assigned for that unique key. Okay, if there will be any primary foreign key, that will be also visible under this folder. Now, if you wanted to see on which column we are having this unique key, that we will not be able to see with the name itself, right? So for that, you need to open this or you need to script this key. So what you can do is just right click on this key and script. Okay, create new window, and it will create an alter command for you, like just to see which column is having this unique key. Okay, so this is the table. Okay, we have added the unique on email column. So if you script that keys, you will get to know which column is having the key, that particular key. So now I have scripted the primary key. Okay, and you will see primary keys on a customers tables, customers ID on this customers table. Okay, then I'm having constraints folder. So in constraints folder, you will see all the remaining constraints. What are the constraints? Default, check, and what is else? Default,
Check.
check, and I think
Not
what about
no.
not null is like there only. Yeah, so this default and check you will be able to see in the constraints
It was two check, I think, and
folder.
one
Okay,
default.
so there, right. Yeah, correct. So we are having two check, one on salary and one on gender. Okay, and default is on the date of birth. Okay, so
What is
uh,
this seller? Customer seller.
that is default name given by the SQL server. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
this is the default name. When you script this constraint, you will see on which table, on which column this constraint is added and what is the condition.
Okay.
So this
I
is
have
where
a
you can,
question.
yes,
So, how do you know where to use these constraints?
correct. Good question. Okay, as a developer, we have to decide that, and that will be defined in your requirement. Okay, so normally whenever you are going to create any new stored procedure or new project you are working on, okay, you may need to create some of the tables. Okay,
Mhm.
so when you are going to create some new tables, okay, you should know, like let's say you are working in a healthcare domain, and you are working on some claims information, so there should not be any duplicate claim ID, so you should have the primary key. So as a developer we should be knowing this. Okay,
Okay,
what constraints can be there on which column. Okay,
okay.
yeah,
Thank
yes,
you.
How
Sandeep.
did you? Hmm. So the last time you run the alter command, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
To see the table structure. So how did you run that?
All right, so there is whatever the table we have created. Now let's say I have created this table. Okay, I have created this table, customers table, and I closed this. Okay, so I'm not having that create table syntax with me now, right? I have not saved it. Okay, so that create syntax we can script from this object explorer as well. Okay, so this is my table, or any table you can see. Let's say this is the table I wanted to script. Like I want the create script for this table. So you just need to right click. Okay, we have
Okay,
seen
run
about
the
design. So
script of
design,
yeah.
what will it do? So design will be
Script
help
command.
you to modify the data types, columns, and
Oh,
whatever it is, right? Then another we are having select. So select will execute the select statement for you for this employees table. So it will select the top 10,000 records always. Okay, the select command. Then we have this edit option. So this will allow you to update the data inside the table. So it will update the rows. Okay, so when I edit 200 rows, it will show me a top 100, top 200 rows from the table. Okay, and like the modify option, there we can modify the data inside the table as well. Okay, but why it is not responding?
yeah, but instead of running a script,
Like this.
just like you run a script and there is a alter command, primary, everything is
Right, correct.
the
So
similar way.
that also,
I'm asking about like, can we do it with the query command line, a query?
yes, we can do that. Okay, currently we are looking while creating the table. Okay, after on we will look for, if the table is already created, how to add the constraint on that table. Okay. But yeah, you are looking like this. So even we can script the table like this here. Script. Now I want to see the table structure. So create table. Here we can create to new query editor window, and the create table script will be showed by the SQL server to you while executing whatever you have used. So same create command will be appearing here. So this is just a scripting the existing table. Okay, the table was existing. We are just scripting that with the help of Object Explorer.
Okay.
To work on that.
So we can retrieve the only the structure of table, not the entire.
Structure of the table. Data also we can retrieve. There are some methods we are having that we will see later. Okay, there is a option to retrieve the data as well. Like data in the sense, the insert commands, right?
Yeah, sir. The whatever the data we inserted, like a script of insert as well for each row.
Right. Script of insert, that is what I was mentioning. So that also we can do. Okay. So that option also is available in SQL Server here. Okay. We'll see that. Okay, but I don't know why it is taking much time. It should not take this much time. Normally, I need to work on my laptop. Okay. Now you see here, it has created the table for me. Okay, but whatever the constants I was added, like primary key, unique key, default, check, those are not here. So what SQL will do? SQL will create just SQL will just create the create script. Okay, and it will add the constraint later on. Okay, with the alter commands. So it is giving me everything, like create the table and then alter table to add the constraints. Okay, now if you see here, while altering the table, I need to specify the for keyword here with the column name for the default. Okay, so these are some differences we are having. Okay, now don't focus on these alters. We are going to see this alter command for all the constraints, how to add the constraints after table creation. Now we are just focusing on adding the constraints while creation of a table. Okay, while creation of the table itself, we are going to see this. Okay, so these are the check constraints, all I have added here, check default and all. Okay, so let's go to the database. We have created this table. We have seen all the constraints are there, like keys are there, primary key, unique key, constraints are there, default and check. Okay, now let's see the data and we'll try to insert some records here. So select star from this table, execute. So currently we don't have any records into the table, right? We don't have any records into this customer table. Now let me add the insert statement. Insert into customers. I just mention dbo.customers, and I will specify the columns here. I'll go with customer ID, first name, last name, email, gender, then salary, DOB, created date. Okay, I'll go with happy scenario. I don't want any error for the first insert statement. So I'll insert the first ID or first customer with without any issue. Okay, I'm just giving a customer ID as a 101. I'm giving my name here as a record. Okay, first name, then last name. Okay, I'll give some email ID here. SPI. Okay, email ID, then I'll specify the gender as male. Okay, then we are having salary, let's say 25,000. And then DOB I need to mention here. So let's say I'm mentioning like 1996 and 10 and 10. Okay. Then created date, let's say get date. Like get date is for today's date. This is a system function, just remember as of now. So I'm inserting my first record into this table now. Execute it. Okay, date and time. So we are giving in this format. Date of birth, created date. What is missing?
After 10, there is a
You
dash.
have an extra hyphen there.
I think you have date time while you are creating,
Mm.
but you put get date while you are inserting.
No, I was having dash here. Thanks for noticing. It was having the hyphen after this. Okay, so one record is inserted. Now we could see that record is there in that into this table. Okay,
Sir,
now let's
okay.
yes.
You use DOB as a default. For that, when we inserting the any data, in that place,
Correct.
suppose we have not a date. For there, what we should pass there, so it can be able to insert the data in a table.
Right, now here also we can see, okay, my default date was given for date of birth is 1190. Okay, but I have provided some other date in my insert statement. Okay, so we could see whatever it is inserted using insert command, that is there into the table, not the default value. So when we pass some value, it will take the passed value itself, whatever it is passed to the insert command. It will not take the default value. Okay,
But
the
here
default
you
will be,
hard-coded it, am I right?
sorry,
Here you did a hard-coded, am I right?
here in the constraint you are saying,
Yeah, in a constant default, you put a
yeah,
hard-coded
constraint we have to give some value there, right? So we have to give some value there. Okay, so that will be the default. Now let's see the example of primary key. What is the primary key? Or let's see the example of not null first. Okay, I will add, we will go in a like a sequence. First, see the example of not null. What does not null means? It should the not null will ensure the column cannot have a null value. Okay, so I'm trying to insert another customer with some different name here. Okay, I'm giving some name here, let's say Omkar. Now I'm not trying to pass the last name here. Okay, so when I did not pass the last name, I will remove the column from this column list, as well as I am remove the value from the value list here. Okay, now I am removing the last name value here. Okay, other, let's say I'm having this like op123 something @gmail.com is mail, and then we are having the salary as, let's say, 28,000. Okay, date I'm just changing something to new date value, and I'm trying to insert the record. Execute is record is inserted. Okay, now even though we have not passed the value for last name, it is inserted the record, because last name, if we are not passing the value, what it will insert? It will insert the null value, right? It will not restrict you while insertion of the data. Why? Because the column last name is null column, right? Because we have not defined this as not null. So by default, it will be a null. So if we are not passing any value, okay, to the last name, it will insert the null as a value. Okay, what will happen if I'm trying to insert the record, new record, okay, where I'm not passing the first name as well. Okay, in the at that time, let's say I will be passing the last name, and this is my last name. Let's say I'm passing this as Sharma. Okay, so customer ID value is 103, last name value is Sharma, email is like, let's say I'm just giving some Sharma@Sharma11@gmail.com, mail, and same salary, same date of birth and something. Okay, when we try to insert this third record here, and when I execute this, okay, it is saying like cannot insert the value null into the column first name and table. This is the full three-part table name, SQL 1030 DVO customers. Column does not allow the null. Okay, so what it is saying, this first name column into this customers table is not allowing the null values. But we are not inserting null. So how it is taking? So when we are not passing value, SQL will by default try to insert the null value. And when it try to insert the null value, the SQL will fail to insert that record, because we are having the column defined as a not null. Okay, so this is how the not null constraint works. So what it is saying, what it did just now, it was restricted to insert the null value into the not null column. You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, which means we need to pass the value for first name column. Then only it will insert the successful data. Okay. So let's say I'm passing the first name as some name here. Let's say Rahi. Okay. And let's say I'm changing the gender to female. Salary keeping 8,000 and just like 2002 something. Okay. I'm just changing the date of birth. And now I'm inserting the data. Execute it. One row affected, and we could see the record number 3 is inserted here.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how
I
when
have
we
a
pass the valid
question.
values. Yes.
In the default, you mentioned the value, right? Like 1996, 10, 10.
Right.
And in the next inserted record, you change the value,
Right.
but it's still inserted. How?
Yeah, because whatever we are passing, that will be inserting into the table. Default will only work. Okay, we will see the default example how it will works. Okay, but as of now, whatever we are inserting, whatever we are passing, that values will be inserted into the table. That is what the definition of default. What it is saying, it will set the default value for a column if no value is specified. But in our example, all the 3 rows, we have specified some value. If it is not specified, then only the default value will be inserted.
The same in the
Okay,
on the
all the rows. Okay, if we are not specified the value for all the rows, it will insert same for all the rows. Okay, we'll see all those examples as well. Okay, now we are checking on the not null we are done. Now let's try to do that for do the insert for the next row. Okay, I'm just giving some name. Let's say CFM's name we'll write here and and just giving some name here like SM18. Email salary. Okay, though it is not your birth date, I will just mention this birth date here. Okay, and we will try to insert this record. But this time, what I'm doing is, okay, let's try to insert this. What is the unique we have added for the email? Okay, email we have added. Okay, let's say I'm inserting this record. So now currently it will not throw any error because there is no issue. Row is inserted successfully. Okay, the fourth row. Okay, now I will try to add the next record, but this time, though I'm changing the customer ID, okay, I'm changing the name here. Let's say I'm changing the name to Sahil, okay, and I'm keeping the surname as it is. So I'm trying to insert the same email ID. Okay, now what is the definition on this email? Email should be
unique, no
unique.
duplicate.
Right. So the sm18@gmail.com is already there in our table. Okay. But this is for customer ID 104. I'm trying to insert the next customer 105, but I'm not changing the email ID. What will happen now? Execute it.
Throw an error.
And it will say violation of unique key constraint. And it is showing some name. So what is this unique key constraint name? So this is the same that we have seen in the Object Explorer. Okay, this will be the same unique key name you will see here. Okay, so this is the unique key customer. Okay, this is the causing, this is the unique key that is causing the issue. Because of this rule, this constraint, we cannot insert the duplicate key object into the customers, and the duplicate value is this one. So they are saying like there is already a email present with this value. We cannot insert the duplicate email ID in that column. Okay. So this is how the unique constraints work. Okay. As soon as I change this to some other
Like
value.
19.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just changing this value, and when I insert this, it will insert
And rid of it.
without any issue.
Yes.
Execute it, and it is inserted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let's say I'll try to add one more record with the new ID 106. Okay, I'm changing the name here, some different name. Let's say Dilip Adhikari. Okay, and let's say I'm just giving this as a DK25 something @gmail.com. Changing the name to gender of male. Okay, I'm just skipping, and this, let's say 2001 again, some other date, 9/12. Okay, now I don't want the email to be inserted here. So when we are not giving the value for the email, what will happen? When we
It
are
will throw an
not
error.
One
giving the
null.
value
It will
email,
It will
accept
come up with
one
null.
null.
so it will insert the
Oh,
null
unique.
value,
Except
right? So let's execute this. One row is inserted. So even though we are not provided the value for email, it is inserted the value as a null there, right? Now let's try to insert one more record there. Okay, and I'm just giving some another customer ID with some new name. Let's say Naveen. Okay, let's say Naveen Patnaik. Okay, now this time also I'm not trying to provide the value. Okay, just changing the date of birth. I'm not providing the value this time as well for the email column. Okay, this time for this customer ID 106, it was inserted without any issue, right? Now I'm trying to insert this for customer ID 107 as well. When I execute this, what will happen here?
Error.
It will throw an
Error.
error.
It will throw error. Okay, and what is the error? Error is like violation
Yes,
of unique
because
constraints,
it cannot
right?
contain
And what
duplicate
value
null
it will not
values.
accept? Right. So there is already a null value present into the column, and we are trying to insert one more null value.
Mm-hmm.
So it will not allow that null value into the table. Okay, so this is how the unique key constraints works. Not null, it will not allow a single, like it will not allow a single null value as well. Okay, but we can have like blank or something. The this email column, it is unique, so it is not allowing the duplicate. When you try to insert the duplicate values, it was thrown error. But if we are not passing the value, it will insert the null value. But how many nulls? It can accept only single null value.
But we can
Okay.
keep not null unique, right?
Yeah, if you don't want a single null as well, you can keep not null unique. Okay, at that time you will not be able to insert the single null value as well if the column is not null unique. Okay, now email is
Yeah,
there.
one
I want
second,
to
sir.
insert the email. Yes.
Sir, suppose I don't want to pass anything in the date column. How can I do?
Yeah, we are going with that default after some time. Okay, within this today itself, we will see. Okay, you just need to remove that date of birth column, right? From that select, sorry, insert and values list as well. Okay, yeah, we are checking that on Sandeep. Okay, so we are talking about this email. So now I have added the email column here, and instead of giving the null value, if I give the null as a value, again it will throw the error because null is already there into the table.
Here.
Okay, but it is inserted. What it is inserted? Customer ID 107. Oh, it
Oh, it's
oh,
last
Email
I
is a
have
name.
unique
given the
email.
I have given,
Email is the unique one.
yeah, but email I have given as a I think I mismatched the
I think
values
you
here.
didn't mention last name into the
No. The
columns.
sequence is missing here. Sequence is missing here.
Oh,
I
yeah.
should add the email after last name.
After
Okay,
last name,
but
yeah.
I was added the email column before last name, and the last name is inserted into the email field here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was a miss. So let me just delete this record, delete from customers. Customer ID is equal to 107. Okay. So it is deleted. Now I will just reinsert that once again with valid values. Okay, this time what I will try to insert is, I'm trying to insert the, now let me validate first, customer ID, first name, last name, email. Now I'm trying to insert the null value as a default, like by passing the null as a value. Okay, two ways we can insert. Either we can like remove the column in from the insert, it will try to insert null. But if we are mentioning the column, we need to give the null as a value to insert null. So when I try to insert again, it will throw the error because null is one null is already there. But I can insert the blank. Okay, so when I just give the two quotes, this is a blank. So blank I can insert and it is inserted the record here. But if you try to insert one more blank, again it will throw the error. Okay,
Oh, so
so
next time you have to like 2 blank or 3 blank like that, right?
yes, something like that we can give. Okay, but yeah, even for the not null column as well. Okay, your column, this last name is not null. So instead of not, sorry, this first name column is not null. So instead of not null, if you are inserting the blank as a value, it will accept the blank. Okay, only it will not accept the null. Okay, so this is a unique key. Now let's talk about the primary key. Now primary key is a combination of not null and unique, right? It is a combination of not null and unique. So let me try to insert the record. Now I'll try to insert the record without customer ID.
Shivra sir, I have a question. Does
Yes.
primary key only work for integers?
No.
For example, in email, if you want not null and default, you can just write primary key.
Right, we can just write a primary key, but that is not a good choice because primary keys are always used for unique identification values, like ID values most of the time in real time, like customer ID, order ID, claim ID. Okay, these kind of IDs we use that primary keys most of the time. Okay, so that is a good option to go with the primary key. But yeah, we can create the primary keys on any other columns as well. Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm not giving the customer ID here. I'm changing the name here. Okay, I'm just giving some name like Jatin. Okay, Jatin's approved, and email I'm giving like jpjs at js@gmail.com. Okay, mail and salary, and let's say I'm just changing the name to 05. Now when I try to insert this, okay, what will insert into the customer ID?
No, it
So
is
it will try to insert the null value
Um,
because we are not specifying the value for customer ID. So by default, it will try to insert the null. And when it try to insert the null, the SQL will throw the error
error, yeah.
saying
Yeah.
the primary key and it will not allow a null value. Let's see. It is saying cannot insert the null value into the column customer ID. This table, this is the table, and column does not allow the null insert fails. That statement has been terminated, right? So when you're not passing the value for the customer ID, the SQL is by default try to insert the null value for each column. Okay, whatever column you are not passing, it will always try to insert the null value. If the column is allowing the null, it will insert successfully. If the column is not null, it will not allow you to insert the null value and your statement will fail. So it is failing out here because it is a primary key and it is not allowing the null values. Okay, now let me add this customer ID column in the column list and add the customer ID as a 105. What will happen?
Error.
Error, it is
Right, and
duplicate value.
Again, it will throw the error because primary key will not allow the duplicate records. right? So it is throwing the error. And the duplicate key is 105. There is already a customer with customer ID 105.
Yep.
Okay, so it will not allow you to insert the data.
Can you repeat one more time, please?
Yeah. So we have tried to insert the record first. Okay, I will just make it separate. Okay, where I was not given the customer ID. Okay, this time what SQL was tried to do is it was tried to insert the null value, and it was failed to insert the record because the customer ID is a primary key and it should have some value. Some value should be
Yes.
again not duplicated. Okay,
Mhm.
so first it was tried to insert the null and it was failed there. Okay, second time when I tried to insert the record with the customer ID, but the value was 105. So again, this
Mhm.
time also it was failed because the customer ID 105 is already there into the table. Okay, just
Okay.
give me a
Customer
moment.
ID have the primary key. Okay. Because it cannot contain the duplicate values in one column, right? It cannot insert duplicate values.
Yeah.
Yuvraj sir, you are on mute.
Maybe he got disconnected or something.
Yeah, I think so.
So I was just plugging my charger actually. Yeah. Okay. Hope you are able to hear me now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, so this 105 customer ID is already present into the table. Okay, and that's why it is also failed to insert the data. Right?
Yes, because it cannot contain duplicate values.
Duplicate value. Even though I'm trying to insert the null as a value for the customer ID, that time
It
also
will
failed
throw an error.
because we are trying to insert the
Cannot
null, it is
contain
a not
duplicate.
null column,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have to give the unique values every time. Okay, so when I try to insert this 105, it was failed. So I will just take it to the next and try to
Can we
insert the
do the
next value.
blank here also? Can we
Blank
use the
can be
blank here
inserted.
also?
Okay, so if we insert the blank, what is the data type of this column?
Primary key.
It
It is
show the error.
integer. Okay, no, it will not show there, right? We are trying to insert the blank and it is inserted 0 for the blank. Instead of blank, it is showing the 0 because the data type of the column is integer. So whenever you try to insert anything,
How is it?
okay, anything you try to insert anything as a blank into the integer column or even numeric column as well. Okay, it will show you 0.00 for the numeric. For integer, it will show 0. Okay, the blank will be converted to the number values.
Sir, you use there is a constraint in email. Then how does it possible that it inserted? You didn't change the email address, right?
But these records was not inserted, right? These are all failed records.
Oh,
Were failed. Okay, so it was failed. Now when I try to insert the record 108, okay, still it will insert or not?
No.
It will fail because we are trying to insert the duplicate email now. The email is present already. Okay, though the 108 is different, it will fail for the email violation. Okay, like this. So this is how it will works. Okay, for all the constraints, primary key, unique key, and not null, it will check the data before insertion. While executing the insert command, it will itself the data will be validated, and if the data is valid, then only the data will be inserted into the table. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's try to insert the next record 108. Okay, let's say I'm trying to insert the same value. I'm just changing the name here to some 111. Okay, and this time I'm trying to change the value to 7,000.
9,000.
Okay, 9,000. Okay, so we are trying to insert the 9,000 as a value for the salary. Okay, when I execute this command, again it will fail there. But the error here now is some different. It is not for the primary key duplication. It is for not. It is not for the not null constraint. It is not for the unique constraints for the email.
Salary
The error is
constraint.
different, and it is the error for the check constraint. Okay, it is saying like the insert statement conflicted with the check constraint. This is the name of the constraint, and this name also we can see in our object explorer. This is the constraint name. SALAR, the name ID, and the conflict occurred in the database 1031. This is the database name. This is the table and for the column salary. Okay, now it is not showing you the value actual, like what should be the value. So if this kind of error happened, how you will know like what is the constraint? Let's say you have not created this table. You have not created this table and you are trying to insert the data. You are assigned to insert the data into this table, but while inserting the data, you got into this kind of error. So how will you know, okay, what is this? Like this is error for the check constraint. You got that. Okay, this is the error for the check constraint. You got the column table name, you got the column name. Now how to see what is the values or what is the condition we are having for this check constraint? So for that, you have to take this name. Okay, you have to take this name, go to the this database 1031, go to this table and check that constraints available or not. Okay, so I go to this 1031. This is the table. Go to the constraints and look for this constraint. So you can just see what constraint it is. Salar 08B5489. Now you will just see that constraint. Now just looking into the constraint name, it will not allow you to see what is the exact condition. So to see the constraint, you need to script that constraint. To script that constraint, you can just simply right click, script constraint as, create to, okay, new query editor window, and it will show you the definition of that constraint. So this is the constraint on the customer table, and the constraint is salary is greater than 10,000. So which means while inserting the data, we need to pass the salary, which should be greater than 10,000, even not greater than equal to. Okay, so even we pass the 10,000, at that time also it should fail.
Yeah.
Because the constraint is showing it is greater than 10,000. Okay, so even you just
10,001.
add
100.
Yes. So even you add this as a 10,001, it will insert the data.
Yeah.
Okay, because it is 10,001 is greater than 10,000, right?
Yes.
So it will not throw any error. But when you give 10,000 exactly, still it will throw the error because 10,000 is not greater than 10,000. It is equal to 10,000. That is the exact value.
But
Okay.
like, sir, one question. So while we are defining the while creating our table, if we define like salary greater or equal to 10,000, we can do that, right?
Right. When you define this as a greater than equal to, definitely you can insert the 10,000 as a value.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So this is how the check will work. Even we are having check constraints for male, like gender column as well. Okay. So let's try to insert one more record here with some other name. 109. And let's say I'm just giving some name as a Herman. Okay, and giving some name, it's like HK or something. Okay, anything is fine. Now here I'm trying to insert the black gender. Okay, or I'm trying to insert the insert insert the data without the value itself. Okay, I'm not passing the value for the gender. I have removed the gender column from my insert list. So when I try to insert, it will try to insert the null value. Okay. And when you try to insert the null value, again, it will fail because it will say like the null cannot insert it because it should have the values specified in the checklist. Okay.
Yes.
Null is not allowed. It will allow only the male, female, unknown, even though it is a not null column as well. Okay, that is again a different thing. Okay, but even though we are trying to pass the, if it is a null column as well, okay, it will not allow you to do that because it will check the values are in this list or not. So null is not in this list, even blank is not in this list. It will not allow you to insert those values. Okay, let's try to insert the blank value and see the what will happen. So gender, and I'm trying to insert the blank as a value. Okay, execute it. It will throw the error saying the insert statement conflicted with the check constraint. Okay, and this is the constraint name. The conflict occurred in the database 1031. This is the table and this is the column. Again, to see the definition, you can go to the object explorer, right click, script the constraint and see what is the definition. What are the valid values we are having for this gender column? Oh, I just.
So it will only allow male, female, or unknown, not the blank.
Right. So it will allow only this if the gender is equal to unknown or male or female. Only these values. Okay, so let's try to insert now with some different values. So I'm trying to insert F as a female. Okay, but still it will not allow because that is not the exact value defined in the checklist. Okay, so it will check only the exact values are there in the list or not. Okay, if you are trying to insert blank, if you are trying to insert M or F, something like this, okay, still it will throw the error only. Okay, it will check only the exact values that has been defined during the constraint creation. Okay, let's execute this now and it will insert the data into the table without any issue. Okay, see the data. Let's start from table. And we could see now the data is inserted for the next record here. Okay. So this is how we can insert the data. If the check constraints are there, we should check the valid values are being passed to the column. Okay. If it is not passed the valid values, it will throw the error. Okay, let me try to insert next record 1110 here and give some name. Abhinav. Okay, some name I'm just giving ABB. Let's say it is well. Salary is like, let's say 24,000. Okay, now I'm not passing the date of birth field. Okay, so when we don't pass the date of birth, what ideally it should insert? It should insert the null value, right? Because we have not mentioned this column as a not null, right? So when we are not passing the value, ideally it should insert the null value, right?
Default value or null value?
No,
I think
normally I'm
in
saying
default it
any column we are
insert the
not
same
passing.
value in the
Okay, any
column.
column we are not specifying.
Oh
Sorry?
yeah, in that case it's gonna be null.
But I think it's gonna be
Yes.
error.
See, okay, just ignore about the constraints. Okay, just a normal question. Ignore about the constraints. I'm just saying if we are not specifying any column into the column list and we are not specifying the value as well, the column is like not defined as a like not null column. It is accepting the null. So what will insert normally? It will insert the null values,
Yes.
right? It will by default insert the null values if we are not specifying the values. Okay, but with the default constraint, that is not the case. When we are defining any column as a default column, we are specifying the default value for that column. And when we are not passing the value for that column while inserting the data, it will insert the default value. Okay, so now I have not passed the default, I have not passed the value for this date of birth column here. Okay, but when I see the data, it is inserted some value. It is not inserted the null, it is inserted some other value. What is this value?
Default
This
value.
value
Default
is
value.
defined in the default value. Okay, but when I give some value like DOB and I'm giving some value here. Okay, let's say 20, let's say 1998, 12, 30, 25. Oh, 35 is not a valid date.
12, 12,
25. Okay, changing the name. Okay, the first name I'm keeping the same. Maybe so let's change some name to some other name.
Josim.
Rakesh Pedi, mail. Okay, anything is fine. I'm trying to insert the record here now with some new date. Okay, and I'm passing the date value.
Oh, email is
When I try to insert, okay, unique key because of the email.
just remove one D.
Okay, I will just use the email. Insert this now. It is inserted. Now you see, it is not inserted the default value. It is inserted the value that we have passed. Okay, so when we pass the value, it will take the value that we have passed. But when we are not passing any value and the column is having a default, it will take the default value. Okay, that is what it is saying. It will set a default value for a column if no value is specified. So only if no value is specified for that column, then only it will take the default value. Else it will take whatever it is given. Okay.
What
Yes,
happens
Sandeep.
if we leave it empty?
It will insert empty, but it is date column. I'm in doubt if it is insert the empty value for the dates. Let's check.
Yes, sir. Just I want to ask, instead of date, you provided a date. Instead of there, if we provide a null, then what it should be assume as a data, or what is it?
It will assume as a data. Okay. Let's see. Given the name and just changing the name here. Let's say Rakesh Sharma. Okay, 125 Gmail, and let's try to insert the null value now and execute this. It is inserted one record. Let's check the date value. It is a null value. So when we default giving the null, okay, we are specifying the column and we are specifying the value as a null. Then it will try to insert the it will insert the whatever value it is passed. Okay, but when we are not specifying the column itself, then it will insert the default value. Okay.
But sir, I have one question. Like, you are specifying the column while inserting the data, but in some case, suppose we are not defining the column and we are just simply inserting the row, the data in the table. In that case, we have created a table with a dog having a null value, a default value. In that case, what we should write there?
Right. So in that case, now, okay, that is a good question. Okay, we will go with that question first. Now, let's say we have the column defined as a default. Okay. And now I know I'm going to pass the values for all the columns, right? So in that case, when we are passing the values for all the columns, sometimes we will not be taking the column list here. We are just giving the values list. Okay, so we have this 113 as a what is that customer ID. I'm just giving some name here like Bishnoy something, and we are having this BK1 2. Okay, gender as female. So we are passing the value for all the columns. Okay, and by that time, if you pass some date value, like let's say this is some date value we are passing, maybe I'm just changing the dates to some 1995. Okay, So it will insert this date. Okay. But let's say you wanted to insert the default date. So you, even though you are not providing this, okay, you can insert this date. But when you run this statement here, it will throw the error because it will say like it is not having all the values. Okay. So whatever the columns we are having, that definition is not matching. So when you are having any default column, okay, so you need to specify the, even though you wanted to insert the default values, you need to mention the column list and the values list. Okay, so you can remove the column from the column list, the default column, and you don't need to pass the value for that default column as well. But you need to give the list of column there along with the values to match the definition. Okay, here we are trying to insert all the values except date of birth because we are thinking date of birth is an default value. So even though we are not passing, that should insert the default, but that will not work if you are not specifying the column list from that table. Okay. As soon as you give the column list and you remove the column from the column list and the value is not there already, so it will insert the record without any issue.
Sir, one question.
Yes.
So what is the use of like having a default value, especially on a date of birth? Because like in organization or anywhere, like the customers, everybody has like different date of birth. So like what is the
Right.
point of
Correct.
having?
So this is not a valid example. I was just given, I was not having any other column, but
Okay,
this default columns mostly will be the created date. Okay, in organization. So
okay.
whenever we insert the record, it should insert the today's date. Okay. Then whenever we do any updates onto the record, okay, these are the some column names I'm giving here, which will be marked as a default in organization. Okay, is active column. Okay, like whenever a new employee is inserted, we should mark this as a active one.
Mhm.
Okay, so that column we mark as a default column. Then
Like a joining date.
like joining date. So
Okay,
such kinds of column, right? So that that will be marked as a default
default.
column in a. Okay, good catch actually, Ranju ma'am. Okay, so we should be able to know which column should be marked with which constraint. Okay, when we are creating any new table in the requirement, and it is not necessary like every column should have the all the constraint. Okay, most of the time, every column will have the primary key constraints alone because in organizations in actual work we will be maintaining the unique data, not the duplicate data. So yeah, definitely primary key will be there on each and every table you work on.
So
Okay,
we can use like customer ID or the order ID. Can we use that default for the IDs because it will allow, right?
No, because we cannot use the default because if you try to insert the values without customer ID, it will insert the default values and you will be ending up duplicating that default value multiple rows for the multiple rows,
Yeah.
which is not valid data again.
Okay.
Okay.
The default cannot use for the like name or emails because everybody has their own name and own emails.
Right, right, correct.
Okay.
So those cannot be default values. Even names cannot be a unique values as well, right? Maybe having the duplicate, like different persons can have the same names, right? So there may be chance like name will be there. So unique cannot be added on the name columns. Okay, we can add not null because the value should not be null. Actually, it should have some values. Okay, so yeah, you can have like date of birth. We can add the check constraint, like date of birth should not be less than that particular date, right? Like let's say we are working on some government data and we are maintaining the details about the voters. Okay, so voter should have minimum of 18 age, right? So we should check the age or the date of birth should be like past 18 years. After that, like let's say 2010, 2012, we should not have date of birth like that if we are inserting the voters data. So that kind of check constraint should be there on the date of birth if we are inserting that voters data and all. Okay. So basically these constraints all will be used for maintaining the data accuracy, just to see your data is accurate. You're not having any duplicates. You're not having any null values for the columns which should have the values. Okay. You're not having the uh, invalid values with the check constraints. Okay. So that kind of checks we can add, that kind of rules we can set on a column for a table, so that will be having accurate data only. Okay, so these are the 5 constraints that we have seen today: not null, unique, primary key, check, and default. Okay, tomorrow also we are going to see the same constraints, but this time tomorrow we will be creating these constraints after creation of table. Like let's say you already created the table without any constraints, and later on you found like we should have the constraints on the table. So that we are going to see tomorrow with the same 5 constraints. Okay, creating the constraints after creation of the table. Okay, this is all we did while creating the table. Okay, then we will see adding the constraints after table creation. Okay, even we will revisit this once again, because here whatever we have created, this has been created with a default name. Okay, so if you want to give your own name to the constraints, which normally followed in every data engineering job. Okay, we will be giving a valid, or we can say the unique name to each of these constraints or each of these object. Valid names or meaningful name. So we can give the meaningful name by ourselves as well. So that also we will see. We can give the name while creation of the table as creating the table as well, or we can give the name to the constraints while adding the constraint after creation of the table as well. So both of these things we will see in tomorrow's session. And then day after tomorrow, we will move to the last type of constraints, which is a foreign key constraints. Okay, that will
So
be our
I have a
plan.
quick question. Going back to what you just showed in the SQL Server, it mentions 3 constraints in the constraint sections, like date of birth, where, if it's greater than or 3 constraints, but it doesn't really show like the null and the unique constraint. There are constraints too, but it doesn't show. Is there a reason for that?
In constant, you are saying, right?
Yeah, like you see like 3 other constraints, but other like for example, primary key is also a constraint and
Right,
unique key. Yeah.
correct. Yeah. So the keys will be available under the keys folder. Okay, like primary key, foreign key, and unique key. So these
Oh,
three
you did
constants will
mention
be
that.
available under the keys folder, and the other 2 constants we are having, like check, default. So that constants will be available in the constants folder, and not null you will be able to see on the columns list, like not null. Okay.
Yeah, and when you go to the constraint section and you go to you see the alter stuff, like when you click on the script and alter, is it already like the script is it automatically like set like that once you create the table or
Right.
okay.
When we create the table, so it will be saved by the SQL server. So we just need to script that from this object explorer.
Okay.
Even though the create command we are not saving, okay, we could see that using the scripts here by scripting the table. So we have that options here. Okay.
One thing I would like to ask you, sir. Did you
Yes.
mention identity column, like identity as a constraint? I didn't see that
No,
they mentioned in
no. Identity is not a constraint. Okay.
Okay.
That is the auto increment field. That is not the constraint. Okay, so if
Okay.
let's say you are mentioning this column as an identity 1 1. Okay, so in that case, what will happen? There will not be any duplicate value at all, right? Because every time you do the insert, it will insert the new value, right?
But
So
when
Mhm.
you go through the script, sir, modify the new script, generate a new script. There I can see that is mentioned as a customer ID as a primary key there. And then
this is you're saying, or the key script you are saying?
no, the table script. Yeah,
Okay,
just
table.
we need to drop. Yeah, we need to drop and recreate without a primary key, and then just we have to put it as an identity key there.
Yeah, you can do that.
So does it mean that it's a primary key for that?
Yeah, it doesn't mean. Okay, those are two different things. So let's see. Quickly, I will show you the example here. Let me create a table, okay, with some.
Better we can take a script from their drop table and then create a new table there.
No, I'll just create a new table, custom names. Okay, I don't want to do that. Okay, just label just ID. Okay, and I'm creating this with identity. Okay, and I am not going to mark this as a primary key. Identity. Okay, 1 name as a varchar. Okay, now I'm not going to mark this table as a primary key. It is just a identity. Okay, so when you try to insert, select start from customers, insert into customer names, values. When you try to insert some new value, let's just charge. Okay, then okay, as you go on inserting the value for every new value, what it will do is it will insert the unique values by incrementing by 1. Okay, so you will think like it is not allowing the duplicate value because every time new value is being inserted, even it is not inserting null value. So you may think like it is a primary key, right?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Correct. But
So can we use identity and the primary key together or not?
right, we can use identity and primary key together. That is a process we follow in organization. Identity plus primary key. Why it is not acting as a primary key? I will show. So there are some options we are having. Okay, where we can do the identity insert. Okay, on what is the syntax exactly? Hmm, I think we need to specify the column name. Not column name. The table name.
Table name.
Right?
Set identity, insert on table name.
So insert on table name is
Just ID.
custom names. Okay, so identity insert, then table name, then on. Okay, so this is the syntax we are having. Okay, so with this, when I run this command, incorrect syntax near keyword identity. Okay, identity insert should be single keyword. Okay, so now with this command, I'm able to set the identity insert. So normally when we have the identity column, we don't need to pass the values. Okay, but this time I'm trying to pass the values and it will not throw the error. Customer ID and I'm passing the name. Okay, and then I'm giving the values and I'm giving the values, not values, the column name. Some new name I will try to insert with ID as a 1 and name as, let's say, Pooja. Okay, then second record I try to insert second 2 as ID and a name as a any name, let's say W. Okay. See, we are already having two customers with ID 1 and 2. I'm trying to insert the two customers with ID 1 and 2. What will happen? It will allow me to
It
insert.
will,
So it is ending with
yes.
end up with the duplicate records. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
identity is not a primary key. Okay, because it will not restrict you to insert the duplicate records. If we are inserting the values by like by specifying the values in the values clause for the identity column, by setting this identity insert on, we can insert the duplicate values, as many duplicate
And
values we can insert.
So we
okay,
should
and
use
now we have
identity
to
and the
do.
primary key together, right?
Primary key. Then we have to
Right.
use.
So normally what is the process or what is the standard we are having is we will use this identity
Now
with
we set identity. Now we set identity insert off instead of on and
off.
off.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So when we do this off, which simply means we don't need to pass the value. So when we are setting this off and we are trying to insert the values like 1 and 2, it will not allow me to do because explicit values we cannot pass when the identity insert is off. So it is saying like identity insert is on, you don't need to pass the
Mhm.
values for the records. Okay, you don't need to
Okay.
pass the
Mhm.
values for the customer ID. You just need to give the values for other columns and identity value will be taken care of. It will insert
Yeah,
third
but
and fourth.
when I run the script, I see there in the index is cluster index generated and the primary key is there.
The clustered index is different, primary key is different, identity is different. So
Okay.
I was not mentioning that things because it will confuse you. The primary key, whenever we create a primary key, the primary key will by default create a clustered index on a table. But the
Okay.
clustered index does not means it is an identity.
When we
Okay.
don't want to like
Okay.
mention the ID name and like in the values we use
Right.
for primary key and the identity together, and then we don't need to write, right? Because it will
So
not
this is the
contain
good
duplicate
option to
record.
go with primary key and identity together.
Yeah, so it will not contain duplicate record also.
Sorry, what you said?
I say that when we like keep the identity and the primary key used together, and it will
Mhm.
not contain the duplicate record, right?
Right. It will not allow you to insert the duplicate values.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So Sandeep, so that uh, clustered index is a different thing. Okay, that we will see during the indexes
Got
how
it.
it works, why it works.
No,
Okay, that is a
okay.
different thing. Okay.
Yeah, I got it that. Okay. I was
Yeah.
thinking that,
But
okay, identity
no,
is
no.
also work
As
as a
of
primary.
now, no. Identity is not a primary key. Okay, identity even does not create any index on a table as well. It will just
Mhm.
generate the unique value whenever you insert a new record by incrementing with a specific seed value. Okay, whatever it is defined. Okay, as of now, you can just remember whenever we create a primary key on a column, the primary key will create a clustered index on a table. Okay, by default.
Got it. Got it.
And unique key, whenever it is created, it will create a non-clustered index on
Non-clustered
the table.
index.
Okay, so these are some differences we are having between primary key and unique key. Okay, that also we will be discussing once all these constraints has been over. We will discuss on the questions that might be asked on the constraints section. Okay.
All right. Okay.
One more question, sir. Will you share notes today or tomorrow?
Today only I will be sharing. It will be on
Okay.
every day, so you'll be receiving those.
Okay, thank you so much.
Size questions also.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. How it feels? It
Okay.
is like complicated, complex, or it is
No, it's good.
interesting.
It's good. Yeah, just
Thank
like
you,
that.
sir.